Okay, where were we? Okay, yeah, we were just making a new web part, not a new web part, a new extension. So we just created a new project. We click on the extension, and we're going to. There's three kinds. The one we're going to make right now is an application customizer. We can call this top menu. Okay, placeholder extension, great. So now we have it. So now I should be able to go into code dot. There we go. So now I have code opened up. And in this one we have a source, and we have, instead of web parts, we have extensions. And there's not so much in it. Basically what it's doing is that you have a interface for the properties in something called text message. And then you got the top menu application customizer, and that's inheriting from base customizer. And then what it does is it takes the properties, the test message that we get up here, right? In a web part, our properties are in the property pane, okay? But for the application customizer, it is not the same thing. So if we look up in the config for dev purposes, we have the, I think it will be in here. So for when you're running your local host and everything like that, it has a text message called test message, okay? And that's the property. So I can put whatever I want here. And then you have a URL here, which is the page URL. So let's go to let's go to our SharePoint site, office.com. I go to office.com now instead of logging on Microsoft Online. Okay. Nice, let's do it here as well. Okay, now we're rolling. Okay, so let's go to SharePoint here first. Let's just go to yeah, Teams go. Do I have a David site? I do have a David site. So what I can do is I can take this URL here, and then because what happens now is when I run gulp serve, I'll show you why we're doing this. Okay, it's going to contoso.sharepoint.com, right? If I go, I want to go over here. And I don't really want it to go here, right? I want it to go to my site. So I can take my URL here, and if we stop our gulp task here, yes. And so if I go to here, I can type in the URL right there instead. Just do it in both places. And then when I run it, I can go gulp serve again. Now it's going to the one I want. Maybe not. If your dev tools were there, and then we want to load debug scripts. And now I should get a pop-up saying hello from top menu application customizer test message. So that test message is what's coming from here, right? So we can change that to hello David. I wonder, there's a top menu, there's the default top menu. I don't know which one is which, but I'm guessing there's a custom action. It's the same ID. Doesn't matter. So now if I would run that again, now it's going to pop up and show hello David there instead, right? You guys can see it. So those are the properties, and when you install it for real on the server, you actually have to use a custom action. Remember custom actions? Custom actions, you can add things to the gear menu and stuff. Well, use a custom action to install a extension as well, and then you can set what properties you want on that on the properties. And so if you want specific properties for your application customizer, maybe it's an ID of a list or web, or maybe it's just some text or whatever, you can change that when you install it. So instead of a property pane, because like a web part has, we have properties that we set when we install the application. Okay, so that's that. So we look at the top customizer. Basically on init, it's going let message equals this dot text message, and then it basically does a dialog dot alert hello from strings title and then your message. Okay, so we can just remove that stuff right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to put something in the top menu. Okay. So if we look at the tutorial that they give us, because that's always a good place to start, I think so. Let's see if we can find it. SPFx docs. Build your first extension. Use page placeholders. That's the one we want right here. There's only two placeholders on a page. There's the top, and then there's the bottom of the page. Okay. I'm hoping they add more eventually, but right now that's all we got. So basically, we want to copy some code here. Here I got the import, so I'm going to add that to the top. I think we got the base customizer. Here it is right here, right? So I can just replace that one. So now we got the placeholder content and placeholder name. To that. Let's see here. Render placeholders. So they have one called they have these two here, render placeholders, and I'm keeping as trimmed down as possible. So we have one called, we're going to have something called render placeholders. Like that. And then it adds what is it called? It added a handle possible changes on the existing placeholders. Changed event, add this dot render placeholders. I actually don't even know what that does. I just copy and paste. Okay. Here it has here you get the placeholder, because there's only two. There's bottom and top right now, right? We only care about the top one. But in the render placeholders, I'm going to add this code to get the placeholder names. Because you have to put an if statement. If the top placeholder, then do this. If the bottom placeholder, then do this. So this code, yeah, if you're putting something on the top or the bottom, yeah, this is like always the startup code. So that's why it's good to have this article. And top placeholder, what is that right there? That is top placeholder, placeholder content. If not this top placeholder. Try create connect. Okay, content. Okay, let's add these two. We'll add this private property at the top here as well. And that just goes in the. It's just a private internal property on the class here, right? So at the top placeholder. So, and then they have this. If not, then do it like that. Then we got the properties. And we have the bottom placeholder. So all this code right here, we add to here. Okay, so basically it's doing something like, oh, we have an onDispose method as well. Let's see what that one looks like. Where's the onDispose method? onDispose. Here it is. That's only if you want to have it. I guess if you're not using it, it don't matter. Let's see. Try to create content options. Say the option. This is only optional. We don't have to dispose it. We don't have to do any cleanup or whatever. I didn't like that. Let's go back one again. What did I delete? That was okay. This dot properties dot top. Well, we have another property we have to grab. The top ones as well. iWorld customizer properties. And that is iHelloWorld customizer properties. Top. That's the property. We don't care about the top property. If this dot properties, no properties defined. Let's call it like, let's do something like this. Let's go, we're going to create a menu from the taxonomy eventually. So let's go term set ID. Okay. Put that there. The property was not defined. Term set ID. And then we have the top string. Top string is this one right here. So this one here, this term set ID, we got to go back to that. This one here, because now I changed the properties. I'm going to put term set ID. And I'm going to go, this should be my term set ID. Okay. And so what it's going to do is it's going to render some inner HTML. It's got the, okay, so it goes, renders placeholders. First it gets all the placeholder names. Then it sees if our property, which we made up here, which is something called placeholder content, if it's null. If it's not null, or yeah, if it is null because it has the not there, then it's going to create a, it's going to assign it to the top placeholder. So now it's kind of like it becomes like that div element that you can put stuff in, like in a web part, the DOM element, the first thing you add. So that's what that is. And then it checks to see if the placeholder actually exists, and if it doesn't, it yells at you. And then this dot properties, we check to see if we have a term set ID, which we do. Let's rename this one to term set ID. Term set ID property was undefined. And then it's going to spit out some HTML. So everything is ready to go. Okay. So let's do a gulp serve, and we should get like, that's the bare bones, basically, just to get something onto the page. Yes. close this down. I want to get the terminal in my code here. So F1 terminal, show terminal, show toggle integrated terminal. There we go. Nice. Okay, let's try it now from here. Gulp serve. Cannot find name styles. Oh, now it's using it there.
Yeah.
Crying out loud. Go away. I don't need any classes. We just want to show there. There we go. This should be my term set ID. That's what I put up there, right? So now I have this thing at the top of the page. Okay. So now we want to make a menu there. So that's the bare bones just to get it kind of working and something shown on the top. And you can switch between the bottom and the top if you want to add the bottom, then you just switch it around and change this one to bottom, and then you create a couple properties for the bottom placeholder. But basically, the on init, it renders the placeholders, it finds the top element, and then you get your properties, and then you get this down here. Does that make sense? Is there any questions there? Okay, good. So now, as much as I like to do stuff like this, I really like to use React. So because I'm going to make sure you guys come out knowing a little bit of React, because that is much more, when you actually get to know it, it's so much more easier to build like good stuff. So what do I need to do to get React working? If you look in the package file, we can see that there's absolutely no React in here at all, right? So to install React, what do I got to do?
npm install, right?
Yes. So npm install, and then I go, we'll take the this one here, React 15.6.2. Let's just stick with what the version that they have. It's going to go npm install React at 15.6.2. And then I go dash dash save dev, or just dash dash save. Is it dash dash save or just dash save?
Dash dash.
Yeah, I think so too. Because the save will make sure it gets put in my package file. Because otherwise, you're the only one who's going to have those packages, and then your buddy's going to download the code, and he's not going to get the packages. So it saves it, and you see in a second here, it's going to pop up in my dependencies here. There's React, and then we needed the other one, React DOM. So we do the same thing, except for I go React dash DOM, which stands for Document Object Model. Okay, and do we get any React types? No, we got to get those as well. And I got types at React 15.6.6. So let's do that. Types React at 15.6.6. 6. And then we got React DOM 15.5.6. The types are for the IntelliSense, right? The other way you can do is you can add it directly to, let's remove this one here. You can add it, the other way you can do this is you can take like this one here, and I can put it right here, right? So if you have like a couple that you want to do, then you can just go npm install, and it'll look in the file and it'll find the ones that are missing, and then it'll add them. So you can just add them to the package.json file and then do an npm install, and it'll fix it for you. It'll install missing packages. Okay, so now we got React installed in there. So on the top of the page, we're gonna have to there, because we need the React and React DOM on our page, and then we have this dot placeholder top element. So we can remove that now. Right, so instead of inputting the thing, so then I'm going to need a component, right? So I'm going to add a new folder, and I can call it components. And then I could just add a new file and call it top menu.tsx. That stands for a React component. Okay, so before we make our component, we'll start with this here. I10 and global nav props. Okay, we can take our properties here. And then we got top menu. We're going to call it top menu. And this menu items we don't care about. Oh, we don't have a top menu here, so we have to create that yet. That's an element. We're creating a React element, so we got to create a React component here. So if you would just take like a simple web part, let's go. Because now we have it set up. If I were to go like source junk, is this an extension one, or is it a, yeah, it's extensions. If I go to junk, new folder, React web part. I always try to have like an empty one. Open with code. And then here I'm just going to create a yo at Microsoft/SharePoint. I guess we could have looked online, but it doesn't matter. It's nice to have an empty project. Junk, use current folder. Yes. We're gonna make a web part. Hello world, React. And then we should get some files. What folder was I in? Where's my files? Dear God. I feel like it went somewhere else. Let's go back. Did it go into junk? Ah, it went into the junk. Okay, that doesn't matter. Basically, all I want is this file right here. Open that one up using Notepad is fine. Okay, so I can basically just steal this one, right? Because a React component is a React component. I mean, we don't need the props, we don't need the styles. And then here's our element. We can just put a div there. Delete all these ones. And go. And then we can make a interface top menu props like that. And this one we're going to make a string, call it term set ID, make that a string. So this component is a component in itself, and that's it. It's just a component, right? It can live on its own. You can copy this in another project and use it. So first thing we're going to do is we need to import that component into this file. Okay, so import from, and then /components / top menu. Okay, and then I should be able to take my, I called this one, we're not going to call hello world, we're going to call top menu, right? Top menu. And we want to take the props as well. Do we have to export it? Do you think we have to export our interface? Export in order for it to be able to see it, right? Okay. So the top menu is red. Do you know why? Because that's default there. So default is always kind of like, I wonder if that'll work. Yeah. So default is always like, it's outside of the curly brackets. If I remove the default, then I could have it inside the curly brackets. So it's kind of like that. So now I have the top menu. So I'm making a component down here. It's a React component. It has these properties. And down here I need to put in, because I have a term set ID there, I need to have one here as well. This dot properties dot term set ID. So I'm passing the term set ID I have in the properties of the application customizer, and I'm sending it to my component. It's the same name, but I can call it whatever I want, right? I'm just passing it over because I want to use that for my top menu. So now I have a React component that says hello world. So instead of rendering the HTML here, now I just use React. So I had to, if we review, I had to add the React types and then the React assemblies, or whatever they're called. And if I look at the top menu here, or first in the application customizer, I had to put this React stuff at the top. And then all I had to do is write the code to render the React element, and I had to create the React element. So now it's much better than before. Even though it's a bit more complicated in the end, if you learn React good, which I'm going to make you guys do, it's going to make your life much more easier. A conflicting web part prevented us from using it. So I have a hello world at the top there. Now we have it working with React. Okay. So what next? Maybe we can have something before lunch. Wouldn't that be great? So we have a let's go back here. So we have an entry point, which is this here, and this basically checks the top, looks for the top placeholder, it gets our properties, and then we pass it all into our React component, and we use that top placeholder DOM element to render our React control. So now under components I have something called top menu. Okay, so now what do we want to do? Let's have a term set that we render a menu of some sort. So the best way to do that I see now is that I have a PnP JS. If you go here, go to the PnP JS core repository, and this one is the old one. So they depreciated this one, so you go into the new libraries, PnP JS. So what you want to do is you want to go to the Get Started guide, and then you can see how to install it. Here's for the common, here's with the SharePoint framework. So up here we have logging, common, OData, SP, and graph. So we'll just grab all those. It's the most common stuff. So grab those, and then I'll add those to our project. Yeah, we'll add that. I think the most important one we need is the SP. Okay, that's done. So now on the top of our top menu here, we can do an import. Let's have a look at our, here we have the SharePoint framework. We need common. We're going to grab the SP one here. Okay. And then in the onInit of our component, we grab this one here. SPFx thing. So I'm going to add that. I'm going to actually go revert to the entry point up here. This one has an onInit right here, right? So here it returns promise.resolve. So let's grab these. There's the onInit, and we'll add this code. And we could add it at the top here. And then of course we need the SP setup, so we need to add SP to the top on this one as well. There. There. So now we have this .context. We're sending it into the SPFx context. So that basically makes it so that you're using that site collection. So the SharePoint knows what's, or the SharePoint framework knows what site collection you're using. So then we got there might be a separate what can you say? Here we got the getting started. Let's go to the documentation, get started documentation. There's one here called SP taxonomy. So we're going to want to have this one now, SP taxonomy. And we might need the, we do need, since we already have the other ones installed, we don't need those ones. But we need to have, okay, let's do it like that then. We already installed those ones. We need the SPFx client SVC. That one is like an endpoint in, you know, remember the JSON object model we talked about? The JavaScript object model that's like kind of depreciated and not being used or developed anymore. So this, the only reason why we had to use that before was to get the taxonomy. However, now they've created a wrapper around that, so we can just use the PnP JS to access the in the background. It's also using that web service, that the same web service that the JSON object model is using, but it's very complicated to do because it doesn't make any sense when you're actually using it. So the guys doing it that created it have created a wrapper, and so now we can use it like this now, right? So now we got the taxonomy. So on component will mount, that's the best place to put it. Can I put it like that? Okay, let's do it like that. Component will mount, we'll make it public. Component will mount, or can we make it private maybe? Will complain. No, we need to make it public. Okay, so component will mount is it happens before the render method, right? So it's a good place to put in where you want to get your stuff. So in our case, we want to get a site information. We'll go to view all site settings. We're recording, right? Yeah. Then I'll go to the site collection features. No, that's not the one. We want to go to the term store. Where's the term store? It's on that side. They switch it around on the sides with the modern sites. Okay, we're going to have this done before lunch. So let's go to David. David has one here. I'm going to make a new term set and call it top nav. And then intended use here, I want to say use this term set for site navigation. Sure, we'll save that. So I'm going to create a term, we're going to call it home. We'll create another term, we'll call it Google. We'll create another term and call it Bing. Okay. So home should go to my root site. We can put it like when you turn on the intended use to use navigation, then you get this extra tab here. I'm going to make a simple linker header. I'm going to go to David. I'm going to save that. Google. We can go to Google. And then Bing, we can do the same thing. There. Okay. So now we have created 3 links in our term set, and we've given it URLs, right? So this top nav has a ID of that. So this is the one I'm going to use inside my property, my term set ID. I'll put that right there. Right, because that property will be the one included. Great. So now I have a top menu component will mount. Now I should be able to go taxonomy dot get default site collection term store. Great. Dot get terms set by ID, and we have that one in this dot props dot term set ID. You can even like go like this, and then we can go dot terms dot get. And that gives it an iTerm data and iTerm array back. So this one will give us dot then we'll start like this. Terms right? And what do I got to do if I want to update this one down here? Does anybody remember? We need to have a state, right? Top menu state. Okay, so each component has the properties. Those are the properties that you send in. And then it also has a state. You should have an I at the front. Oh, I don't want to make an I. Should be an I because it's an interface. We'll have to change some stuff around. So there's our props. And then we have our state after that. So I got to change this one as well. This one is going to complain because it doesn't find that one. So we change that to an I. And then we change that one to an I as well. Okay, great. Let's go back to top menu. So now we have a state, right? So now I can go. When you have the state, you always should set. You should always set the state in the, I think, the constructor, I believe. Let's see, we have a junk. Let's look at the junk one. No, it's not there. Hello web part. State React. State constructor. So there we have the render constructor. If you don't initialize a state, you don't mind methods, you don't need to implement a constructor. So we have to initialize our state in the constructor. That's right. So constructor props what is it complaining about? Oh, I need a super. There, and then I have to go this dot state is equal to, and what do we need in our state? Well, we have something called terms, and this one is a iTerm data and iTerm. Okay, so terms, and that's iTerm term data and iTerm. And it is an array. So the funny thing, we haven't seen this before, but if you look at the iTerm data and iTerm, an object can be two interfaces at the same time. So that's what they've done there. But we have to add up here, we need to get those iTerm data and iTerm. Need a big T there. So it's two things at once, if that makes sense. So it gets the properties from both things.
It will be like two values.
Yeah.
One, like spot one will have two
So
values.
if this one had an ID and this one had a name, then this one had an ID and a name, right? You can. I think you can only do that with interfaces. So set state, and then I can go terms. We'll just make that an empty array. Okay, so we initialize our state into nothing. So now I can go, well, there's two ways to do this. Some people do it like, they can do an isReady, or you can put an actual object there, but it depends on your taste. But now I can go this dot set state terms is equal to terms. Okay. There's the same name. Maybe we should call this one. We can call this one all terms. Sure. Okay. Then we can do a console.log here. We can go all terms. There. So then that'll trigger a re-render on this one, right? So if we run this now, it should run this code and give us the terms. We won't see anything down here because we haven't implemented the code yet. Debug scripts. So we got to have about 12. Let's see if it gave us anything. We have to do a refresh. It did nothing. Terms.get. Oh, we have an error message here. Unreachable code detected. 52. Let's save that one. 52. Is this unreachable code? Let's put it there then. Because we're doing the onInit, and onInit is returning a promise void, which this needs. So since it's returning a promise, that this stuff below here never gets called. So we're already returning the void, so we don't need to do that, but we should have our code inside there. So now we didn't get any, was that the old message? Yeah, that was the old one. Okay. So let's see if we can, someone's posting. Little debug scripts. There we go. Now we got 3 terms. You see that? Here's my terms. So I got an ID. I got a name here. And then I got a local custom properties sys navigation simple link URL. So I got all the information I need, right? So now all we have to do is go. So in the component, we got on the component will mount, we're getting our data. We set the state, right? That'll cause, whenever we set the state, it causes the render to render again, right? So then we can go this dot state dot terms dot map We go term. Then we go return, span. And inside that we put an a tag. And ref is equal to term.name. No, the term.name should be under the in the a tag there, right? This ref should be term dot local custom properties dot what is local custom properties? It's any. Okay, that's fine. So what's the correct name? Local custom properties, and then it's the sysnav local link, simple link URL. So now if I run that one, refresh the page again, load debug scripts. Now I got my 3 links at the top there. Bing, Google, Home. They're in the wrong order. It's rendering again. Oh, now I lost that query string at the top, that's why. Do it again. So now we got our links, so they're a bit backwards. Let's see here, let's go back to our term set. If I go here, top nav, I go custom sort, use custom sort order. Let's put home as number 1, save that. There, let's refresh this one again. There, home, Bing, and Google. Now it's in the correct order. So now I created a custom menu from a taxonomy item, and I can render this everywhere in the whole portal and a couple global menu for everybody. Okay, so now if I go to the Fabric UI, the components, navigation, nav. Here we have a nav up and down. Does it have a horizontal nav? I don't think it does. We don't have any nice variants. Simple links, components. Let's see if we have anything there. Breadcrumb, how about that? Navigation, breadcrumb. That's a breadcrumb. Let's look at command bar. Command bar is horizontal, I think. Here's kind of a nice command bar. Can you do it without the styles? What do you think? Should we try to make this work for lunch? So I'm going to import the command bar at the top here. Right, and I got the command bar. The Office Fabric UI is already included in the, you don't have to add anything. It's already in the SharePoint framework by default. Okay. And then how does it work? Icons are visible, icons are visible. Here's the command bar. So I'm going to take this down to the bottom here. And then instead of this one here, we'll comment that out. I'll put a command bar in there, and that one is items, any overflow items. We don't care about that one. For items, Arial, remove that one too. Maybe we can just put in the items. So items, what does an item look like then? An item looks like, where do they have the items? Const, this dot props. They don't have the items. Let's see if this one has items. Well, that's nice of them to see what the items look like, right? Items, items, items. Let's see if there's any documentation on it. Items, I command bar. Here it is here. I want that. Can I get it? Or are you gonna just I command bar item props. I command bar item. I command bar. Let's do that. I command bar item props. So items, it has to be an array of. So I'm going to change that there, and I'm going to go up here and I'm going to change my state instead of terms like that. I'll just comment it out so we can like see what changes we've made. So I go I command bar item props. Okay, and then down here, this one items is be this dot state dot items terms, sure. And then when I set the state, I got the all items here, so then I can go you know, like the map in Java TypeScript is kind of like the select in C# link. So I can go let nav items is equal to all terms dot map. I could return a command item prop. Maybe it's new I command. Maybe we can do it like that. Nav items there. So in here, will it give it to me? I got a ref is equal to term dot local custom properties dot, what was the correct? It was this object here, right? Comma, and then we got the label. Do you think the label maybe? I got a name, and I got a title as well. Okay, let's take the title and make that to term.name. And then we'll take the take the name as well, term.name as well, and we'll see what that gives us. So this returns item nav props is an array of iCommand item props, because that's what I returned, right? So when I map it, I basically just like returned a bunch of so for each item in the term, it returns one of these objects, which results in an array, right? So I've started using map a lot now, and I really like it. It makes things like really fast and easy. So try to like play around with the map function. Okay. Let's see if that gives us something. Go back to here, refresh this one, debug scripts. There, now I have the nice Fabric UI command bar instead of my crappy thing. So I like to use the Fabric UI as much as I can, because it usually makes it look like SharePoint. Like this looks a lot like SharePoint now, right? Or you can create your own menu or whatever, but it looks pretty good. I guess the title would be the hover. You know, see the home there?
Yeah.
And then the title would have been actually the title of this here. So that's how you use a placeholder. So we did three things. We learned how to create a top menu placeholder. We learned how to get taxonomy. We learned how to set up React, and we also learned a little bit on how to get Fabric UI included as well.